Hey guys, Max Convexity. How's everyone doing? This is the daily Yield Max report. I'm trying to make this a thing. I'm really happy because Jay has uncapped the upside on large swaths of these single stocks. I even made a special buffer report where the uncapped upside is on the left-hand side. Yeah, there it is. It's this one, right? Yeah, absolutely. It's this one. Okay. So what this is a standard buffer report. If anyone who's been with me for a while, obviously the markets were up huge today. Look at this. I mean, AMD's up 6%. AMDY is up about 4%. Coinbase is up about 4.5%, or Coney's up about 4.5%. Coinbase is up 6%. I mean, because of the rate cut news, the market's gone crazy. Let's look at some of these stocks. Here's MSTR. Look at this. And this is on a 30-minute. This is on a 30-minute chart. Let's look at a daily. Let's look at dailies. Get a little bit of perspective. Now look at this on the daily chart. It just poked its head outside the Bollinger Bands for the first time in a long time. We'll see if it can get something started like back here, or if it's more like back here and it peters out. My guess is probably more like right here and it peters out, but I don't know. But we'll see. All right, so that's MSTR. Here's MSTY just by comparison. Anyway, you don't really trade the charts on those. Look at Tesla breaking out of its Bollinger Band, and it's confirming an earlier breakout week before last. Continuation. Nice job, Tesla. Now look at Coinbase. Coinbase is one of the ones that Jay has uncapped. The yellow box represents the uncapped area, or it's how he uncapped it. It's where the call spread is sold at. So but it's like anything else, or it's not like anything else. You're just rooting for as high prices as possible. There's really no advantage to hitting right on the top line and stopping or anything. It doesn't work like that. But this just happens to be where the call spread is sold, so it represents it. But other things being equal, you'd rather be above both. It's like in any other profit box. Max profit is at the top line or above, and we're just shooting for above with these. Okay, because yet it's important to remember the upside is partially uncapped on these, so we just want as high as possible. There's no more strategy in just going to the strike price and stopping. Okay, so here's a daily chart of AMD. Same thing. It poked its head outside of the Bollinger Bands for the first time in a while. We'll see if it's a fake out like it was back here, or if it's like it was back here back in November of 2023 when it started a major trend. My guess is it's going to be more like this, but we'll see. All right, but anyway, it's good to see it happening for a while. Okay, Nvidia looks good, of course. Coney, although it doesn't look as wildly bullish as these other ones. Here's ARC. Here's something that's up today is USO. If you have the Defiance High Yield Fund, they wrote the 72 strike put, so you're doing great with USO. Let's look at old TLT. Not many people have TLTW, which is the high yield. It's an iShares high yield. It's a covered call fund. But it's pulling back today, and you would expect that because of interest rates. Yeah, TLT is also pulling back today. All right, so let's go back here to the sheet. Okay, so these right here, these are the call spreads that are sold. I know this is a bad spreadsheet, but we want to see as much green over here as possible. Yesterday, we had green on JPM. Today, we've added some green on Apple and Apple. We're going to look at that in a second. These are the stocks that have uncapped upside, and this is where their upside is uncapped. Whenever they're above where their upside's uncapped, this turns green. So right now, JPM and APOI are actually taking advantage of the uncapped upside. They all have uncapped upside, and we're getting ready to look at all of them in a second. Okay, let's do it this way. I saved a bunch of these trades in option strat. Here's the Apple trade. I put it into option strat. It's up 2.5 million right now. If I punched everything in right, but somewhere that, and actually, I would caution anyone. I had to guess at their basis for the stock because I had to set this up as a covered call. What price they pay for their synthetic, it changes all the time. But I just put in covered call to simulate it real quick, and then just put the options they had shorted. It should be the same math, but I had to pick a basis or a price for the stock. So the 2.5 million is kind of a moving number, but they're up a lot. What I was trying to show is they had a couple of options sold. They sold the 222.5 and the 225, and they really started to pick ground up when they got over the second one. And you can see right here that, they're totally uncapped about that. This is just as if they're a fund that owns stock like any other fund. That's what I really love about these, about the covered call spread strategy. It's a big hack on investing, because it's kind of the best of both worlds to be able to get a yield when you really aren't giving up that much if you do it right. And anyway, Jay's giving a master class on how to do it. So this one's uncapped. Who knows how much they're really up? The fund may be up more than 2.5 million. I don't know. But I just had to pick a price. I think I said they were long the Apple shares at 220. So if somebody owned Apple at 220 and then did the structure, that's how much you would be up 2.5 million. Okay. So let's see what else. We have mRNA. Jax, what are you chewing on? Okay, it's okay. It's just a toy. Yes, it's something he's supposed to chew on. It's a tug rope. He's gnawing on it. Okay, well, this upside is uncapped. Theoretically, but let's see here. Hang on. Well, something's broken on the chart. Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that. I'll have to check into that. But we can do this though. mRNA is actually outperforming the underlying. It's actually up where mRNA is down today, and that shouldn't surprise us, because on here I have the numbers right here. They were long the 76 strike. We're short the 69 and long the 76, and long the stock through synthetics. So we're double long kind of, or we get long again over 76, maybe is a better way to say it. I don't know what's going on with option strat, why it's not showing that. It should show it when it gets to 76. It ought to go straight up again. I think maybe I have the numbers in wrong. Anyway, here's a graphical depiction of Moderna. And there's the call spread that sold. So we need to go up a little bit to maximize the potential of this situation. All right. So what else we have? We have AMD. they could stand to go up a little bit more to 160 to maximize the call spread they have sold. Now I believe we have this one in here as well. Amazon AI, Moderna. Maybe not. Maybe not. All right. Well, we'll look at some of those other ones. All right. So AMZ and Amazon. Now on this one, they sold the 187.5, but they wrote the 192.5. Let's pull up a chart of this. They're right in the sweet spot of where they need to be. So they sold this one and they wrote this one. So here it is. I just figured it on a one contract basis. They're up about $117 right now, and the max profit if Amazon stays here is $161 per contract. But that's a lot per contract because these guys do thousands of contracts. Should Amazon go up? Should it go up 5% from here? This trade will be worth $760 times however many contracts they have. And like I say, I can assure you it's a lot of them. All right. So we also have an uncapped upside situation on JP Morgan. This one is well in the money, and they're above their cap, and they're making extra money. They sold the 202.5 call, but they bought the 205 behind it. So anything over 205, they're back just as if they owned the stock. Won't make money 1-to-1 with the stock. So that's good. So that's why the JP Morgan's green and the Apple and Apple one is green. Let's look. We've already looked at Apple and Apple on option strat. Let's look at it here though. Well, yeah, they're above their, I mean, obviously that's why they're green, but they have blown out their strikes. So this is an example of a strategy you kind of want them to, or you do want them to blow out their strikes. So, so that is good. Now, will the trend continue in the market, and will these continue up, or will they get up here and peter out? Who knows? Last time they got up here after, they kind of petered out. We'll see if they do that again this time, or maybe not. You could also look at this as they put in a higher low, something like Apple. So technicians will say, okay, well, they put in a higher low right here. And that is bullish. That would be bullish. So we'll see what happens. All right. So let's see what else. We also have Coinbase and Coney. Now they have, let's pull up their chart. They've written multiples. And I even think they've rolled one more time, but it doesn't really matter. You just want prices as high as possible. Prices went up for Coney today from the 160s to the 170s. We could go to 180 or 182.50, and this strategy could make even more money. So they aren't, it could even be better for this strategy, but they're doing great. Let's see. And I don't have this one in here. I did yesterday, but I had something wrong. Well, let's see what else I had in here. Okay, so AIYY is in here. That's what that's what the profit and loss graph looks like on a covered call spread. That's why I love this strategy so much, because what I really like is if you don't go to expiration, if you just look at it sometime between now and expiration, it's basically like owning stock. It just goes, it just makes money 1-to-1 or loses money 1-to-1 like owning stock. So like I say, it's like a hack because you aren't really giving up that much on owning stock, but yet you're bringing in this big monthly income. So it's, you know, it's really cool, but you still have almost all the advantages of stock. So the covered call spread is definitely a cool thing. All right. So let's see. So do we catch all of them? We got AI, AMD, Moderna. We looked at that one, right? Yeah, we looked at this one. It's right smack dab in the middle of where it needs to be. Out of all the stocks in the Yield Max universe, this one's pretty darn bearish. Look at that. I mean, that's the 200-day moving average. Look how long it's been below it. Really a lot longer than that if you include this time back here last fall. It just kind of recently popped above this year, but anyway, definitely some of the weaker stocks in the Yield Max universe. Let's look at Tesla just by comparison. Everyone complains about Tesla being weak, and it is. I mean, it is kind of weak. What's a strong one by comparison? Let's look at NVIDIA. Look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA hasn't sniffed its 200-day moving average in forever. Let's look at maybe Coinbase. Now, Coinbase, yeah, gave up its 200-day moving average recently back in August and has not recovered it. Let's look at Bitcoin. And Bitcoin did give us up its 200-day at the same time, but at least it's recovered it. So Coinbase probably will as well. That's actually a pretty bullish chart right there for Bitcoin, or a potentially bullish chart. If it starts, if this starts a broader trend like back here, you know, if it settles out here and then they get a follow through day and buying ensues, that doesn't always happen, but it could get rejected like this time up here, or this time, or this time. So we'll see. But those are Bitcoin futures. Okay, so PayPal. We haven't looked at PayPal yet. Let's look at old PayPal here. Now, wow, yeah, I wrote their call spread on here. So their call spread, they had the potential of it maxed out yesterday at the close, and now it's, you know, it's beyond maxed out. PayPal showing a lot of momentum. That's nice for PayPal. Let's go back to this. Where was PayPal on here? I thought I meant to put the ones that had call spreads all down here on the left. I missed PayPal, but that makes total sense. PayPal up 4.8, or PayPay up 4.8, where PayPal's up 6.2. You know, that makes total sense. Look at all this upside that Coney's getting. Coney has multiple call spreads on, covered call spreads on. AMD has a covered call spread strategy. Aptly, I say they're up 2.5 million. It may be more than that, but they're up some large amount of money, and you know, and they're being rewarded for it. Oh, we forgot to mention GUI. GUI is also uncapped, and look, it's almost catching as much upside as Google. Let's check out Google. Well, Google doesn't look as wildly bullish as some of these other charts, certainly not as wildly bullish as Bitcoin. But it is up today, and it's a huge gap up from yesterday, and it's been up lately. So it is, I'm happy to see the upside is uncapped, and they're catching a large percentage of the upside. PayPal ought to be down here. PayPay ought to be down here. But if you put this down here, you could visually see these ones on the left, especially JPMO and Coney, are visually catching more upside than these ones on the right. Maybe not than this one. This one's catching a lot, but YMAX is catching a lot too, and so is ULTY, but those are different. Those are bad comparisons. Anyway, I'm telling you this, the ones down here that have uncapped upside look better. They look better, and I think they're going to perform better, and I think it's a better mix of of ideas. I don't know why they don't just uncap all of these. I don't know why they don't always sell a call spread and only sell the call when they can't find a call spread to sell. Right now, they do, I think they do the opposite. That they will sell a call spread if they can find one that works. But anyway, I'm just in love with the call spreads. And so I'm going to keep covering it here. It's going to be a big day for these funds. Obviously, it's going to be a big day. Probably, and I'm guessing we'll probably finish tomorrow. I'm just thinking if this continues another day, if we can maintain this momentum one more day, we'll finish tomorrow on the highs of the week. And then that'll make our weekly bar or candle pretty bullish. Let's pull up the weekly. You have to think about the weekly also, not as often, but on the weekly chart, NASDAQ looks basically like NVIDIA does on the daily chart. I mean, whereas it hasn't sniffed its moving average in forever. Well, in fact, let's just compare it. Let's compare NASDAQ to NVIDIA on both on the weeklies. No, NASDAQ's not as strong as NVIDIA, but NASDAQ's pretty strong. You know, on the weeklies, it hadn't sniffed being under them since the bear market of 2022. We got under the weeklies there. But in any event, depending on where we, especially maybe if we rally some more and then close outside the Bollinger Bands or something tomorrow on the weekly, let's see. Look, we're already outside the Bollinger Bands on the weekly S&P. You know, that's just because it, I mean, you know, it's, we'll see if it gets rejected or if it starts a new trend. But my gosh, and these, you know, if it can start a trend of, you know, 5 or 6, like it did there, that was about 5 or 6 before it petered out. Here it did about, you know, it started about 10 or 15 weeks before it petered out. And here, after it got outside of the Bollinger Bands on the weekly, it started about a 4 or 5 week rally. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see. It depends if you're a momentum player or not. I tend to like to follow momentum. All right, guys. So I appreciate you for being here. Have a great day.